Hi, I'm Andrew Dev, and I make multiplayer games in Godot. Have you ever wanted to make a co-op or a Friendslop game like Lethal Company, Peak, or RV There yet? Well, I'm here to teach you how. This tutorial series is going to take you from a fresh project all the way to a finished game you can ship to your friends and play right away. It's going to work on any platform: Windows, Mac, web, mobile, no ports, no server, no problem. We're going to use something called WebRTC to create a true peer-to-peer connection. So stick with me and we can get this done. I've really loved seeing all the comments, questions, and feedback on my previous videos, so keep that up. Let me know what you want to see. Do you want to see combat, projectiles, UI, maybe picking things up? Anything you want, let me know. I'll help you build it. So let's jump right in. This video is part 2 of our series about PvE multiplayer peer-to-peer games. So if you want to watch part 1 and build this from scratch, you can. Otherwise, we're going to start with the complete project files from the previous video. So we're going to go to GitHub. Then we have the releases here on the right side. So I will click releases, and then this source code, we're going to download that real quick. I'm going to put it in my dev demo folder and save. So now that it's downloaded, I can go ahead and open it. This is extracted here. So now I'll boot up my Godot. I'm using 4.6, and I'm going to import a new project. So if I go here, real quick, demo. All right. So I want this one and then the project files, import. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that the template project works well. So if we go to 2D, we see we have this pretty simple menu. First thing I'm going to check is the customize run instances. We're going to enable 3 instances here. And then this project uses something called feature tags. So if we write server in this feature, we're going to get 1 server and 2 clients. So if I hit play, this is what I get. You might need to disable game embedding. This would be in your editor settings. If you look for embed, we're going to say window placement and game embed mode disabled. So now when we hit this play button, we should get 3 screens, 1 server, 2 clients. Let's make sure we can join. All right, that looks good. Got our balls. I can hit tab, get the menu up. So the tab menu lets me leave the game and rejoin. All right, that seems to be working. Before we add anything new, I'm going to give a quick rundown of our existing project. If you click on the script here, you can see that our buttons will use our network global. This network script is in the scripts folder here, and it handles all of our connections. We use our multiplayer peer signals, peer connected and peer disconnected, to add and remove players. When we add a player, we assign the name of that player as the peer ID. The peer ID is their network ID, and that is going to give them authority over their player. If we look at the player script, we can see at the top that when they enter tree, set multiplayer authority is equal to the name of the node. So anyone connected to that server as this name is going to have control over that player. This is something called client authority. If you want to learn more about multiplayer authority, check out my other videos or part 1 of this tutorial series. So let's start adding some new cool stuff. First thing we're going to do is go to the asset library, and we're going to search for Tube. Tube is a really cool plugin I found, and it does multiplayer sessions via WebRTC, my favorite thing. This is going to handle our peer-to-peer connections. So let's download that. Go ahead and install. Okay. And I think we're going to have to enable it. Plugins on. All right. Another cool thing we can do is restart the project real quick. So if we look at the Tube instructions, they say the first thing we need to do is create a Tube context. So we're going to do that and set up everything we need. To do that, we can go over to our file system, and then I'm going to do this in the scripts folder, create new, resource, and then I'm going to search for a Tube context. There it is, create. Okay, Let's call this tube_context, save. On the right side, I'll try to move out of the way. We've got a couple of things we need to do. One, generate an app ID. And then we have these really important things, the tracker URLs and the stun server URLs. So Tube has these for us. Let's go ahead and grab them. So I'm going to copy the first three are the ones that I'm going to use. So I'll add element again, copy, paste, and copy. So these are going to announce where our lobbies are located using BitTorrent. It's kind of like free cloud storage. So the next thing is our stun servers. These are from Google, and we're going to add that. And then we're going to add Cloudflare. And then we can add this Bethesda one. That's kind of cool. These are going to help negotiate the WebRTC connection between our computers. So the last thing here is a turn server. That's a pretty advanced topic, but it can handle a fallback to relay if WebRTC fails to punch through. We're not going to do that today. Let's go ahead and set up our peer-to-peer network using Tube. So go to network.gd, and at the top, we want to drag in our Tube context. So take the control button on Windows or command on Mac, create a new var, tube_client, set that equal to ;tube_client.new. We'll also make a tube_enabled variable and set that to true. Now, in the ready function, so let's make a new ready function here. We are going to say if tube enabled, we are going to set our tube context, tube_client.context equal to tube context from above. Then we're going to gettree.root.addChild.call deferred tube client. Now we need a tube create method, so func tube_create. And we're going to use our existing signals for multiplayer peer, multiplayer.peer_connected.connect, and add player, multiplayer peer disconnected.connect, remove player. Then we need two new things, tube_client.create session, and then add player 1. This will add a peer on our host server. This will accomplish peer-to-peer. We do need to scroll down and look at our add player function. We filter out peer ID equal 1 here. So in this case, let us add and multiplayer.multiplayer peer is enet multiplayer peer. So this will allow us to, if we're using tube WebRTC peer, skip this and add a player with the ID of 1, accomplishing a hosting setup or a peer-to-peer. Let us go ahead and create our function for tube join. And this is going to take a session_ID as a string. Here, the signals are really much the same, so you can type them out or copy. I'm going to go peer connected, connect, add player, and then multiplayer. Just good practice. Connect, remove player. We also see that the join server has this connected to server one, multiplayer.peer or connected to server, connect, and then we say on connected to server. This is only called on the clients that are joining. Then we need to take our tube client, say join session, and then session ID, just like that. All right, a couple more edits here. We do want to scroll all the way to the bottom. And then if we say func exit tree, we are going to take our tube client, or I think we might want to have if enabled, if tube enabled, tube client dot leave session. And the same is true here for our leave server. The other thing we need to do is go to the tube client itself, and we're going to command click or control click into it. And we're going to search for _UPnP and find this peer.portmap.connect, this add port mapping. We are going to comment this out. It doesn't work on web, and it's a fallback. UPnP is not very well supported. So let's save that. Now we need to go ahead and hook up our buttons. So let's tab back over to our UI for the main menu here. Hit the 2D button. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to duplicate this with Command D or duplicate here. If we have 2 of these, we're going to want to make a HBox container to contain them. And I'm going to drag that to the top, and I'm going to put them both in here so they're side by side. Okay, so we'll name this one is going to be eNet, and this one will be tube. And we can call menu. That's fine. So here we are going to say button join tube and button quit tube. Let us add unique ID here, access as unique ID here. I'm going to add a couple of access as unique name, access as unique name, and then I'm going to make this one just a little bigger so we can see it. Let's say font size override 24. Let's continue building out some more UI. I am going to create a label in the tube menu, and that label is going to be for session ID, label session ID. And then I'm going to make another label for label username. And then we are going to make some line edits. Line edit is going to allow us to put an input, duplicate that, change their names to line edit session and line edit username. Then I'll create a new H separator. H separator will kind of split this up a little bit, make it easier to see what's going on. I'm going to increase the constants here of this H separator to 24. And then, of course, on our labels, we should give our session ID and username text. I'm going to make one more H separator and bring it down to the bottom here. And our final button is going to be our tube create. So button create tube. We're going to need unique name on all of these. So I'm going to hold Control or Command and click them one by one and access as unique name. In our button tube create, we're going to say create session. I'm going to give this an icon, click on the folder, and I'm going to choose tube icon. And then I am going to search for max icon width, set that to 24. We can get these new elements in, go to our script, hold Command or Control, and drag those all in. And looks like we need to grab the create one. All right, now we will, starting from the top, the line edit session dot text changed dot connect. We are going to update session, and we'll make a new function, func update session, that will take new text as a string, and I'll pass for now. Next thing I'm going to do is I am going to do line edit username dot text change connect update username. Same thing. I'll just copy this one. Update username. Now for the button join, we are going to set this to disabled true to start with. And we're going to create a function for it. So we're going to do button underscore join pressed dot connect. And we can go on join tube, make that a new func, and we'll pass that as well. Next button in the line is going to be our button quit tube pressed dot connect, and this one we can just grab our lambda function here to quit the game. The next one is button create tube pressed dot connect, and then on create tube func on create tube. Now that we have our beautiful functions, we can start implementing them. So the first thing I'm going to do with update session, I am going to say if new text not equal to blank, I am now going to disable that button. Disabled is false. Update username, we can do that real quick. It's going to be in our global.username equal new text. Let's go over to global. I'm going to command click or control click into that. And then I'm going to make a new var username. It's going to be a string, or we can set it to colon equal empty string. So we do want to limit the username length. So I'm going to make this max length something reasonable like 12. Let's implement our tube network function. So I will use network.tubejoin, and it's going to take the session ID. So we can get that with our line edit session.text. Let's do the same thing on our create network.tube create. Now I'm going to refactor our existing add world function by moving the hide into the add world. So we do that repeatedly. And then on tube join, I am going to do a signal multiplayer dot connected to server dot connect add world. In tube create, we also want to add world for that server player. Finally, we have one more function we want to cover. We want to func on error raised, and this is going to take code and message with underscores because we're not going to use either of those. And this is going to be line edit dot session dot text equals empty string. That'll clear it out if they get a bad session ID. And the next thing we'll do is button.joinTube.add theme color override, and we're going to use font disabled color, comma, color dark underscore red. There we go. Button underscore join tube will then get disabled equal true, and network dot cleanup signals will just help us out, reset there a little bit. Let us hook that up to our signal. There is a signal called network.tubeclient.error underscore raised, and we can connect that right to our on error raised. One thing we need to do at the top of our ready function, let us say if network.tube enabled, we're going to hide the tube or the enet menu. So we can say enet menu and tube menu. Else tube menu hide. Finally, we need to change this one line here in the add world function. We need to remove this call deferred, and we should compensate this feature here with await get tree dot create underscore timer 0.1 dot timeout. Then I'm going to go ahead and look for my player scene. In my player scene, in the UI, I'm going to create a new VBox container, drag the button in, and then create a new label in there. This will be label session, access as unique name. You know the drill. I'm going to drag that in. And then here in the ready function, if we're the multiplayer authority, I can say label session.text equal network.tubeclient.session ID. All right, I'm going to save, and then I am going to hit play to test. We have our server still running there. So I'm going to stop, go to the customize run instances, remove the server. I'm going to hit play. Then I'm going to do create session, hit tab. We have a server code here called DABTG, and join. Oh, okay. Let's see what happened. In my debugger, it says no default WebRTC extension configured. This means that we're going to need to go to Google, and I'm going to search for WebRTC extension, Godot. This WebRTC Native plugin here in the Godot engine repo. Get the release. We're going to need to download this zip file right here. And we're going to save it in our project folder. Then I'm going to open that. It's going to create a folder for WebRTC. Then I'm going to delete the zip. We'll go back to our project. Test again. Okay, I'm going to have to allow this in my security settings. So I'm going to do that real quick and restart Godot. I've restarted Godot. I'm going to launch again, create session, hit tab to bring up that menu. We're going to say XCQHU, join. Great. Let's test leaving. And then I am going to type XCQHU again. Your code will be different. And yeah, that looks great. I'm going to quit one more time. And then why not join over here? XCQHU. All right. Looking good. Let's go over into our player UI. One thing we can do is when we're ready, we can actually do something called copy to clipboard. What we can do is we can add a HBox here, HBox container, and we're going to put that label inside of it. Look at the 2D view real quick. We're going to add a new button, and this is going to be button copy session. Access as unique name. And then I'm going to take this label.session, and then on the layout, we are going to use container sizing and then expand. The button for the copy session, we can grab an icon, hit this folder, do the clipboard here, and then again, we'll search for that icon theme override in the constants. Make sure that's like 18 or something, 24. Now in the player script, we can get that button copy session. And I'm going to connect it. Button copy session.pressed.connect. And then I am going to write a little lambda func display server dot clipboard set. And then we're going to say network dot tube client dot session ID. And we'll also do this when we join. So I'll say display server dot clipboard dot set network dot tube client dot session ID. Now if I test that, I can hit create. I've got the code, put it in here, copy paste, boom. Makes joining a lot quicker. This won't work on web as well, but there might be some ways around that. While we're here, we're going to make some improvements to our player script. I'm going to say var immobile := false. Then we're going to improve our menu opening. We're going to create a new function, func open _ menu, and we will take current visibility, and that's going to be a bool. And the next thing we'll do with that is menu.visible is equal to the opposite of our current visibility. We'll set our mobile here as well, and we're going to set that equal to menu.visible. And then if menu.visible, we are going to set our mouse mode to visible. Else, we will set our mouse mode to captured. Then we can get rid of some of this here, and we'll say, is action just pressed menu? And we will just feed it open menu, and our current visibility will be menu.visible. Then we will also check immobile here and return. The other place we want to check immobile is going to be in our physics process. We can stop our movement here by just saying if immobile. We can put our direction equal to vector 3.0. Then we've got our shoot function here. We're going to improve this a little bit. Next thing we'll do is we'll create a new function, get shoot direction. That's going to be var viewport underscore rect equal get viewport dot get visible rect dot size. Now we're going to get the middle of our camera using var raycast start equal camera 3D dot project ray origin, and we're going to say viewport rect divided by 2. Then we're going to do var raycast end equal raycast start plus camera 3D dot project ray normal viewport underscore rect divided by 2, and we'll project that 200 meters into the space ahead of us. Finally, let us return negative raycast underscore start minus raycast end dot normalized. Now, in our shoot function, we are going to replace the facing dir here with our shoot direction. So let's say var shoot underscore dir equal get shoot direction. We'll put that in here. We'll put that in here, and then we can remove facing direction and save. Let's make a few changes to our ball. So if I look for our ball.gd and ball script here. So in this case, we need to do a couple of things. One of these is we need to say if not is multiplayer authority, we return. This is important because we only want to do things like queue-free on the authority, which is 1, the server. Before I test, I'm going to go over to the ball 3D. We're going to adjust this mesh instance. Let's turn the radius down to 0.2, the height to 0.4, and then the collision shape, I'm going to put 0.2. The area 3D, we'll leave that collision shape a little bit bigger, 0.4. All right, so now when I test this, I'm going to create session. All right, they seem to be deleting pretty well. Copy and paste my code. All right, that looks good. Let's give us something to shoot. So I'm going to go into my environment, and I am going to create a new scene. This is going to be called target.scene, and we're going to pick a node for it. We're going to search for a static body 3D. Okay. First thing we'll do is a collision shape, and then we'll also add a mesh. The collision shape can be anything you want, but I'm just going to do a box shape. Say 2 height, another box shape, and then 2. We'll go ahead and pick a material here. And orange. triplanar that in UV1. Then I'm going to go over to my world forest. We're going to add a new timer, and we're going to call this timer target. And in our script, we're going to access that as a unique name. We will grab timer target, put it here. Then in the ready function, we're going to say timer target dot connect or timeout dot connect, and we'll spawn underscore target. So func spawn underscore target is going to say if is multiplayer authority and spawn container dot get child count underscore count is less than, say, 10. We're going to do the following. Var new target equal our target scene. So let's go ahead and get that. I'm going to search target, and then I'm going to hold command or control. I'll instantiate that. Then I'm going to get our spawn container, right? Add child target true. Before we add it, we do want to, we're going to say add new target. New target, we're going to give that a random position. So the way we do that is if we look at our network script, we do that pretty simply in add player. So I'm going to copy it from there. And I'm going to expand the range from -5 to negative or positive 25, which is kind of the extents of our area here. And then I'm going to give that a position right here equal to a vector 3, and it's going to use the rand x, and then I'll say 1.0, and then rand z. The other thing we need to do is adjust our timer. We're going to say it's an auto start, and then we could set it to go every 5 seconds or so. And it is in the scene. Let's test that out. So I'm looking around. Every 5 seconds, we should see a new box. Perfect. All right, awesome. So at this point, if I join with another player, there's one thing we didn't do. We didn't add our new target to the multiplayer spawner. So let's go ahead and do that. In our world forest, we have our multiplayer spawner. The auto spawn list is just balls right now, so I'm going to add a new element, and I will get our scenes, environment, target. Our target still needs a multiplayer synchronizer, so we're going to add that. Multiplayer synchronizer, and we're going to use a position. Other thing we can do is we can add some health to our target. I'm going to attach a script right next to it, clear it out. And then I'm going to use an export variable at export var health := 100. What that allows you to do is add that variable to a multiplayer synchronizer. So I'll select target again, search for health, and then I'm going to move both of these to on change. Then I'm going to make a new function, func take underscore damage. That's going to take damage as an int. We'll use our health, var next underscore health equals the health minus damage. We'll check that. If next health is less than or equal to 0, we're going to queue free this target. Otherwise, we'll just set our health equal to the next health. Now when we test it, we should be able to hit a target a couple times and then have someone else finish it off. So I see one over there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to pick up the other character. 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. We didn't call take damage. Then I'm going to go over to my ball script, and we're going to call take damage from the ball. So I'll use this body here, and I'll say if body.has method take underscore damage. We're going to call body.take damage, and we'll say 10. Now when we test it, should be able to hit a target a couple of times and have someone else finish it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2, 3, perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 1, 2. Next, we're going to add some indication that we're hitting our target. So let's go over to our player script, and in the canvas layer, we are going to add a new panel, and we're going to add a new label. The panel I'm going to name reticle, and the label I'm going to name hit marker. Switch over to 2D, see where these are in the corner. The reticle, I'm going to go to layout, center, and I'm going to give it a custom minimum size of 5 pixels by 5 pixels. We're going to reset the transform here, and then scroll down to theme override styles, add a new style box flat. I'm going to change that color to white. Then the border, I think we can use corner radius. We'll do 5, 5, 5, 5. That should round it out. Excellent. The other thing we want, we can do center one more time to make sure it's perfectly centered there. The other thing we want to do is with our hit marker, something similar. We're going to use a letter X in the text. Horizontal arrangement is center. Our layout, we will use center as well. There it is. Now for this hit marker, we can actually use the transform property. And in transform, we can uncheck this scale linked and use 0. Or we'll do 1.5 scale, stretch it out a little bit. And then the new pivot offset ratio, 0.5, that'll recenter it right there. Now to our script. So for script, I like to use the access as unique name, so I'll do that. And in canvas layer, I'm actually going to access this as a unique name as well, because when we go to our script, we are going to hide the entire canvas layer if we're not the multiplayer authority. So I'll pull both of those in here. Here comes the hit marker. And this one will just be hidden. And here we can say hit marker will be hidden by default. The next thing we need to do is we need to make it show. So to do that, we're going to make a new RPC. Because the damage is happening on the server, we need to tell the player to show their hit marker when they get a good hit. So we're going to make a new RPC. It's going to be a function, register underscore hit, and that is going to be an RPC with any peer and call local. What it's going to do is get our hit marker and show it. Then we're going to await get tree dot create timer 0.2 amount of time to wait timeout, and then hit marker dot hide. Then we need to look at our network diagram to see how we're going to wire this all up. Here we've already got our global.shoot.rpc calls to the server to create a ball. That ball, we're going to track the peer ID that shot it. Then we're going to take damage with the amount of damage and the peer's name. This take damage does not need to be an RPC because both the ball and the target are on the server. We'll do all the processing there. Then, as this happens, -10, -10, the target is going to fire off an RPC back to the player. Register hit.rpc ID down to this player ID that owns the ball. That's going to complete the loop. So let's do that now. First, we're going to go to our global shootball.rpc, and we're going to give the ball some new information. We are going to give the ball new ball.source equal multiplayer.getRemoteSenderID. That's the peer ID that created the ball. Our ball is going to need to track that with var source, and that is going to be an int. Now we're going to use that source in the take damage function. Take damage is going to be on our target. So we'll add a new parameter here, source as an int here. The next thing we need to do is get our player to notify. So I'll make a new var player underscore to notify, and we're going to do a for loop for current underscore player in get tree dot get nodes in group players colon. We'll match it up. If current underscore player dot name is equal to the string version of our source, we know that's the player body that we need. So I'll set player to notify equal to current player. Then we can break this loop. If we don't have a player to notify at all, did we fail? We will say return. So I'll say if not player to notify, return. And then finally, we can use that here. So if they hit it, we are going to use player to notify dot RPC. And I'm going to show you something we can do that's really convenient. So what we can do is we can go to our player script really quickly, and we can give this a custom class name of player. Class underscore name player. If I type this in the target, player to notify is equal to our colon player, that's going to let us use autocomplete here. So player underscore to notify dot register hit. Remember, we need to call this as an RPC. It's from the server to the player. So I'm going to say RPC ID, and it's going to say the source. That's our int there. We'll do that here as well. And now let's test it out. Create session. Oops, can't move right now. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to take reticle, and we want to find our mouse, and this filter behavior we're going to ignore. So that'll allow the reticle to sit on top, and we should be able to aim still. Okay, I'll join another session. And then let's see if our hit marker works. There we go. So we can look at our network diagram one more time, talk about how this works. The global shoot identifies that this ball belongs to this player, the source. So we set that source. When we call take damage to the target then looks up that player and uses that to register hit on a certain RPC. Let's add a little more juice. I'm going to create a new audio stream player. I'll call this sound hit. And then I'll create another one, and we'll say sound ping. And then on sound hit, I'm going to select a click sound. You can get this from the comments, or if you have the example project, it'll already be there. We'll use sound ping and select ping. I'm going to select both of these, access as unique name, go back to the top, drag them in, sound ping. And then I'm going to make a new argument is underscore dead equal false by default, and we'll use it. If is dead, we will play sound ping dot play. Else we will play sound hit dot play. Then we need to go to our target, pass that in to register hit. We'll say if next health is less than 0, you got the kill here, and we can leave the other one blank. Another thing we want to do is in our target, we want to actually create a ready function. And here we are going to say add to group targets and save that. Our world forest, we're going to use that group. Here we have our spawn container get child count is less than 10. Our spawn container contains both the projectiles and the targets. So let's change this to get tree Git nodes in group. I think we have a git node count in group, and we will say targets are less than 10. We'll also go over to our environment. We're going to create a world boundary. This will be a static body 3D with a collision shape. And then I am going to create a mesh inside that collision shape. The collision shape is going to be a world boundary 3D. And then I'm going to undo the Y, set that to 0. And then I will set X to 1. So then we'll go to the mesh, and we are going to create a plane mesh. And then I'm going to make this size X equal to 50. And then change the face to X. That will reflect our boundary. And we'll change the height. We'll put it up a little bit. Now I'll take the collision shape, and I'm going to transform it. I'm going to push it out to -25. That way it's a boundary. Now what we can do is we can copy that one we just made, and we can make it unique by clicking this link to unlink it. And we're going to change the X to -1. And we're going to change the mesh instance. We're going to unlink that as well. And we're going to flip the faces. Now we can select the collision shape and use the transform property to push it the other direction. So now we have a wall on that side. Then we're going to take one of these and we are going to clone it. We can use the transform, and this time instead of X, we will do -25y. Now let us take that world boundary shape, unlink it once again, and then I'm going to use 0 here and 1 on the Z-axis. And then we'll change this mesh, unlink, change the orientation to face Z. Looks like we have to uncheck flip, and that's the boundary that way. And finally, we can duplicate that, unlink again, change that Z to -1Z, transform, take off the negative there, put it on that side. Finally, select that mesh inside there, unlink it, and then keep that face as Z, but flip the faces. So now let's see what it looks like all together. Create a session. I will copy and paste. Then I will copy and paste. All right. We hear our perfect. That's exactly what we want. One little enhancement we can do in our player. We forgot to use our username. So the way we're going to do this is we'll go up to the ready function, and we've got to do this as part of our multiplayer authority because only we have access to our username. So here we will say if global.username, we can set our label. We have a nameplate. Nameplate.text equal global, capital global.username. Then to sync it to all of the other players, we need to tell them about that change. So I'll choose the multiplayer synchronizer. I'll add a property. I will choose the nameplate and then the text. Let's test that out. I'll hit create and then join with Andrew Dev, session ID, paste, walk in front of him. Perfect. Do here, like and subscribe, join. Perfect. All right, we're ready to export. Let's get ready to share our project with our friends. We're going to add a preset. I'm on Mac. Looks like I need to get some new templates. If this is your first time using this version of Godot, you might need to do this. For Mac, I need to fill this out. com.andrewdev.game. And I'm going to select a folder. I'm going to make a new folder, dist. And then a new folder in there, Mac. Don't need debug. I'm going to do a Windows export as well. Here, I'll embed PCK. Export. Go up a level. Windows, and save. I'm going to test using the web build, run in browser up here, and I will get a native one as well, Mac. So I will host here, and then I'll put the code in here, AWSTM, and then Andrew Web. Perfect. I'm going to push this to GitHub real quick. I'm going to make a new Andrew Dev co-op peer to peer. So I'll take these commands here, run them on my command line. I'm going to check my git ignore, cat.gitignore. It included that dist folder. Make sure we don't add our actual builds. Then I'll run git status. We'll make sure we go git add, git commit, finish P2P with tube. Finally, you can use Butler, publish directly to itch. So I have dist/web Andrew Dev co-op sample. So I will send that up. Now I can open Chrome, go to itch.io. I'll get one here, one there. Create a session. And we have a server code here. ICHUJ, Andrew itch. All right, ready to play. Well, that's it. You can find all of the finished files in the description. And while you're there, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me what you want to see next. What kind of mechanics are you interested? Do you have any questions? So I also like to answer questions on my streams. So find me on YouTube or follow me on Twitch. And finally, if you've got a really cool idea and you want to work with me, find my socials and let me know. Final thing I'll say is games with friends are great games. So have fun making them, have fun playing them. Until next time, see you soon.